FNAF Plus, a remake of the original Five Nights at Freddy's that was developed and created by Scott Cawthon, and this was all the way back in August of 2014. FNAF Plus is taking the classic first game and taking it into a grittier and darker direction in terms of the visuals and the overall story as well. This game is looking to be fantastic and absolutely terrifying at the same time, which is of course something that really does have me and many others hyped for when it finally releases. Scott Cawthon himself even added FNAF Plus to the fanverse, so that FNAF, the creator of FNAF Plus, receives funds from Scott to help with development and even has the chance to have console ports for his game, which is amazing and definitely a huge opportunity. That would be really cool to see this game ported over to the consoles. Definitely something cool and hopefully something that we could see in the future. But who is FNAF? Did he make any FNAF games prior to FNAF Plus? How did he get into contact with Scott to be added to the fanverse to begin with? And of course, when is FNAF Plus releasing? Those questions will all be answered within this video, along with many others as well. So let's waste no more time and let's get straight into the video. So FNAF, or Phil Morg, used to work for Kane Carter on the original Pop Goes, but for one reason or another left during development, interestingly. Phil then went on to create his own FNAF game called A Shadow Over Freddy's, which released in 2018 and was actually praised for having a very unique black and white visual style and an interesting and click exploration style as well. Pretty cool stuff there from his past creations. But it actually doesn't end there. It was also completely free on Game Jolt, so if you're interested to see where FNAF's solo FNAF fan game career started, you can go ahead and go over to Game Jolt and check it out for yourself. I'll leave a link to it in the description as well, just so it can make things easier for you, but definitely a game worth checking out maybe before you do play FNAF Plus or when it does eventually release. Now, after A Shadow Over Freddy's, Phil was involved in various other fan games that were eventually cancelled, such as Freddy's Wonderland as well, which is quite unfortunate since it would be really interesting to see how those games would have worked out. FNAF then started work on a new FNAF game called Another FNAF Fan Game Open Source. So this was a reimagined version of FNAF 2 with improved graphics and slight tweaks to some of the mechanics. This game was intended to have an open source, as of course the title does suggest, so that others could create their FNAF games from using and tweaking the code from Phil. In concept, of course, this sounds really great, giving smaller, less experienced developers the chance to make their own fan game and learn how they are made in the process. But there was a pretty big issue with this. This open source FNAF 2 remake was completely free on Game Jolt and was going to give the possibility of direct clones just with the asset swaps to pretty much anyone who wanted to with the open source code. This could cause the original FNAF 2 to lose out on sales, as there is literally a free version that is better in several different ways. So one day Scott Cawthon filed for the game to be taken down, and since then the game has unfortunately been removed from Game Jolt and, well, will never return, which is unfortunate. That is how it had to end, since there was of course good opportunities there, but of course Scott really did have no choice, which is completely understandable, and of course it has now been removed from Game Jolt. After Phil had his game taken down by Scott, he decided to send him an email to try and get into contact with him about why the game was removed from Game Jolt, and from this it ended up leading to Phil and Scott talking until telling him one thing he changed about every FNAF game to make it better. After this, Scott proposed the idea of remaking the first FNAF to Phil, and he then took the offer and was therefore instated into the FNAF fanverse along with good friends and fellow game developers Kane Carter, Emil Mako and Nixon. In all honesty, who would have thought that FNAF getting his game taken down by Scott would have led to him working on FNAF Plus and being completely part of this fanverse, which is really interesting to see that is how things planned out. Obviously it seems like they wouldn't actually have the best of relationships, but there we go. Things actually ended really well, and we've got to this point, which is some pretty interesting stuff. So pretty crazy how that all turned out. So now we have an understanding of how FNAF Plus came to be. So let's of course talk more about the information we know about it currently and when it might be coming out. Now, as we talked about at the start of the video, FNAF Plus is a reimagined version of the original Five Nights at Freddy's and will not be canon to the original series, and will instead have its own story that is said to be a lot darker than the original, so pretty cool there. The visuals are also completely remade and look absolutely amazing from what we can see in the teaser images, with very gritty environments that are sure to immerse you in this dingy, dark pizzeria. And personally, one of my favourite things about FNAF Plus is the new animatronic designs, because they look so good and genuinely terrifying. They look like they've been around for a while now, with black marks and smudges being visible on their bodies. They're all also wearing clothes, which I think is a cool touch and gives them more of a real life feel to the animatronics, as places like Chuck E. Cheese have their animatronics wearing some sort of clothing too. Foxy's design as well is really quite something and adds another level of terror to the broken down mascot of FNAF. So the animatronics are definitely something that I'm personally really looking forward to in this game. Definitely going to be one of my favourite parts, hopefully. And yeah, really seem interesting and definitely something I'm looking forward to checking out when it does release. Now, on the game's Steam page, there are mentions of gameplay changes, but as of now, we are unsure of what this entails. But something to point out is that on teaser images showing off the camera system, we can see that there is an extra camera option that was not available in the original FNAF, and that being Cam 10, which is titled In the Electrical Room. In a teaser image showing off this room on the game's Steam page, we can see Freddy in Cam 10. Could Freddy go into the electrical room to tamper with the building's power during nights? Well, we have no idea currently, so we can only speculate for the time being. But I do think it was cool that Phil included a new room with what we assume will contribute to other characters' gameplay mechanics, as it gives even veterans of the FNAF series something new where they are not entirely sure what to expect from the get-go, just like the original FNAF games as well. FNAF has also said that there will be loads of secrets, bonus post-game content, and lots of customization options when it comes to your office buttons and camera feed, which is, well, exactly the type of thing we want to hear. Phil seems dedicated to make this the best experience he possibly can, with as much content as possible, which is nothing but a huge win for everyone who plays the game when it does finally release. I also want to briefly mention the trailers and advertisements for FNAF Plus, as it had its own VHS found footage style series that introduced us to the new pizzeria and of course the new animatronic designs. They are definitely worth checking out if of course you somehow haven't seen them already. They are all viewable from the Five Nights at Freddy's Plus YouTube account, and I'll link that in the description below. Personally, I really like how they did a VHS series, as it is something that has become a big thing in recent times with analog horror and found footage style videos, and FNAF is no exception to this trend. So it really is cool to see them contribute to this with some really cool tapes. So now onto the question that everybody wants to know: when is FNAF Plus actually going to release? And the answer to that question is that currently we have absolutely no idea. On Steam it says the game is coming soon, not even 2023 specifically, so it technically might not even release it this year, but I think there is a very high chance that it will. I personally do believe it will come out near the end of the year, around October-November time, but that of course is just purely speculation, so don't take my word for fact. FNAF Plus is looking, well, to be a fantastic game, and it's safe to say we are excited for FNAF's reimagination of the classic Five Nights at Freddy's to scare the absolute life out of us. So there we go. Hopefully that answers absolutely everyone's questions about FNAF Plus, from how we've got to this point within the development and when we can expect it to release. That does just about wrap up things here. Now I would like to hear your thoughts about this game down in the comments, and what you're excited for in FNAF Plus, what you're most looking forward to. Personally for me, I really am looking forward to seeing those new animatronic designs. But yeah, that does just about wrap up things here. So if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content just like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.